Hello, everyone. Welcome to Recode It, the podcast where we explore how you can live life on your terms, how we all can live life on our terms. And I'm joined with Hannah, Stacia, and myself, Sarah. We are the Alliance, and we're so happy to have you here. Welcome, everyone. Super excited. We have a special episode where Hannah's going to be talking to us about sound and the nervous system. This is such an interesting topic because, well, it's what you live and breathe, right, Hannah? But it's also changed my life, and I know it's changed Stacey's as well. Being in Hannah's world multiple times a week, and I'm so grateful for it. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you, Hannah.
Thank you. Yes, this is what I live and breathe. I started working with sound before it was cool to say I was working with sound.
Yeah.
So I was always very weary of whom I would share this with, because I was always concerned they would send the men with the white coats to pick me up. And it all started with a movie. And the movie is called What the Bleep Do We Know? It was, well, no, I started working with sound a little bit before that. And I think when I watched that movie, it made clear why I was working with sound. So I've talked about how I started trying to meditate for so many years, right? And I was going to the Brahma Kumaris to learn to meditate in those days, where every day I'd get up and be there sitting ready at 6 a.m. I was already there. And through, I guess it was working in one way or another, something kept pulling me to keep doing it. And I didn't realize, I think until right this minute, because I kept saying it didn't work for me, because they meditate with eyes kind of squinty, but eyes open. And for me, in order to go deep, I've always had to close my eyes. And different people have different ways and relate to different ways of meditating. But for me, eyes open was pretty hard. But something must have been activated in me, because in one of those meditations I heard, and when I hear things, they're always never a complete sentence. It's always a couple of words, 3 words, something like that. And I just heard solfeggio frequencies. No, actually, I didn't even hear frequencies. I heard solfeggio. And I think if I would have heard frequencies, it would have made it easier for me to find out. In those days, there was no internet, okay? I had to figure it out pretty much on my own until I understood, because solfeggio for me was the scales, which I used to practice voice, right? My singing or the piano, you're doing the scales.
Yes.
That's the solfeggio. And finally, I understood that the Gregorian chants are based on these solfeggio frequencies, and they're very healing. These solfeggio, these Gregorian chants are very, very healing. But then this movie came out, and if you haven't watched it, worth it. Watch it. Called What the Bleep Do We Know? And that was the first time I came in contact with Dr. Masaru Emoto. He's no longer with us. He passed, unfortunately. He and I were starting to work on a project together, and he got very, very ill, and he made it back to Japan, but he was already sick. And I literally met him right before he got sick on his tour, on his way back home, and he got home and he passed away. Which sucked, really, because I was so excited. It was kind of my dream come true to work with him in some capacity. He loved what I'd done with my my set of oils, my stones, and I told him that even my logo was based on frequencies and cymatics. And I had sung my logo into existence. And so he was thrilled. And in this movie, he comes out and he speaks. That's the first time the world started hearing about how important the words that we speak are, the music that we, because he's what he did, and everybody called him a quack. You must remember this, right? He was called a quack so many times. And now his experiments, all the kids who do science fairs, they pick the rice experiment, if you've never heard of that, right? They put a cooked rice in 2 jars. One rice, you love it, you sing to it, you tell it how wonderful it is. The other one, you say all nasty stuff to it. And every time, the rice that you speak nice words to is intact, and the one that you speak nasty things to is moldy and disgusting and gross. And what Masaru Emoto used to do was take water samples. He would take them from polluted lakes, from clean streams. He did experiments in the lab where he would put containers of water, and they would just put a label and they would write love, peace, joy, and the other one murder, hate, whatever, like words that have really, a weight to them. And then they would take droplets, samples, they would freeze them, and in a super powerful microscope, they would see what would happen. Invariably, the water that was spoken to nicely or had the words written, like love. Yeah. Love has its own crystal, like a snowflake. And he published a book called Messages from Water. Now, if you think a little bit, and you remember that we are made of mostly space and water, well, what do you think happens when you say beautiful words to yourself? You're going to get beautiful crystals. You're going to get very structured cells in your body. They're usually hexagonal. And what he discovered was that the other water, where it was they sent hate and horrible words to it, they would take a sample and it looked so pretty much identical to cancer cells. Wow. So I've always said, if anybody spoke to you the way you speak to yourself, you kick their butt and kick them out to the curb, right? You wouldn't allow that. Yet sometimes we are so harsh on ourselves and we speak these words, we think these words. What do you think it's doing to your water in your body? And then people's like, oh, I have cancer, I have this, I have that. Yes, well, you have a tape running with all these chatterings that are not necessarily the nicest. And then we wonder why we're not feeling well. Yeah. So it is so important to change that tape. It is so important to gain the awareness of what is actually physically happening to the water in your body. And once you have that awareness, you can't go back, right? Now you know. Now you know. And you can stop the train from continuing, from hearing. You can stop anybody that's disrespecting you or speaking to you badly. You can stop mostly yourself. And you can begin to substitute with a different thing. And, some people still have trouble feeling worthy. have trouble feeling deserving. And we're not going to change that, right? That has to come from within. You have to remember who you are. And it comes at different times for everybody. And so how does sound affect our lives? Well, sound, I believe that is just like a knife, just like a gun. And people laugh at that. It's like, well, guns don't kill people. People kill people. Well, unfortunately, it's quite true, because if you leave a gun just sitting on a table, it can sit there forever and nothing's going to happen, right? Somebody has to actually pull the trigger. So the people who make fun of that, I just don't understand their reasoning. But somebody has to pull that trigger, right? If you use a knife to attack someone and hurt them, somebody has to wield the knife. But also, have you seen these amazing fruit sculptures that people cut out with knives? Yeah. Have you seen butter sculptures and ice sculptures?
Yeah.
It's like people use these tools that could kill somebody and they choose not to and make something incredibly artistic and incredibly amazing, right? Yeah. I mean, I've seen some fruit sculptures that are just out of this world, these watermelons that they turn into incredible birds and just like amazing things, right? So the sound is exactly the same thing. Yeah. You can listen to a beautiful symphony, or you can get blasted with certain frequencies that are going to make you crazy or make your bodies explode from the inside. Now, there was this man called, his last name is Rife, but this man figured out that every organ in the body emits certain frequencies. And so when that organ gets unhealthy, it's because it's not vibrating at its ideal frequency. So he came up with these machines that will put the frequencies back, and it allows you to, by entrainment, start vibrating. So if your liver, let's say, vibrates at whatever frequency, and now it's sick, and now it's lower frequency, the right machine will send this frequency that is the ideal frequency for a liver to vibrate to, and it will raise the frequency from that liver. And by the nature of it vibrating at the correct frequency, it's no longer sick. Wow. It can restore health, perfect health. Now, what happened was that he was persecuted. They destroyed most of his machines. He ended up dying, and the world didn't know about this because, pharma. And so now some people rescued the machine, and those machines are available. Now you have to literally have an MIT degree to be able to not only run the machine, but also run the protocols for each person, because each person is different, right? Yeah. It takes a lot. That's why I love the Healy so much, because it's automatic. It does the scan, and it's based on those Rife frequencies.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's like the evolution of the Rife machine.
Yes, that's okay. That's where I thought you were going with that when you were talking about it. I'm like, wait,
yes,
like the Healy.
yes. And so 30 years ago, when I started working with sound, it took me a while to figure out that I could actually tune myself, my body, because I also was a dancer at some point in my life. I wanted to be a professional dancer, but busted my knee, and that was the end of that. But I've always kept taking dance classes and learning stuff. And there's this technique that I actually cannot remember the name, but you learn to vibrate your bones, your muscles. And so I took this class, and I figured, well, if I'm vibrating my muscles and my bones, couldn't I vibrate them to the sacred frequencies? Could I not tune my body to this frequency? And then when I sing and I'm vibrating, my entire being vibrates, I can, by entrainment, just like a rife machine, align people's energy centers. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's what I did. I would put the tone, then I'd start aligning my voice, tuning my voice to that tone. But then once I start singing, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to start vibrating my bones, vibrating my muscles, but vibrating my entire being to these frequencies and sending them out. Mm-hmm. So if it's strong enough by entrainment, your energy centers are going to start clicking into this frequency, which is the correct frequency. And then they all start getting aligned because we all are like a symphony, mm-hmm. right? All of our being is a symphony of beautiful sound that we cannot hear. It's outside of our spectrum. And remember, our spectrums are so tiny, right? Our visual spectrum, 400 angstroms, which is red, to 700 angstroms, which is violet. And that is the colors of the rainbow between 400 and 700 angstroms. That's not a lot, right? But it doesn't mean that there's no infrared that is lower than 400 and there's no ultraviolet that is higher than 700. It's just that our eyes cannot perceive it. Yeah. But it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. The same with sounds. Right? The older we get, the narrower our sound that we can hear get. That's why people are like, what, when they're older? That's why there's the dog whistles, because the dogs can hear these frequencies that the human ear cannot. Yeah. Right? But these frequencies can literally take us apart or hold us together. Yeah. Now we're held together by these beautiful frequencies. And when we're sick, when we're not feeling well, when we're depressed, it's all can be emotional, right? Then things start to get out of tune. But when we get certain tones into the body, when we sing certain songs, you'll start noticing your nervous system starts to calm down. Mm-hmm. Right? You listen to this beautiful piece of music, it's going to soothe your nervous system. And guess what happens? Your sympathetic nervous system shuts off because they're alternate. You can't have both nervous system, both areas or arms of or branches of the nervous system going on simultaneously. They're alternate. And what happens is we're limping through life, right? We're always stressed, always angsty, in fear. And so what happens, these hormones start running through our bodies. And we have cortisol, we have adrenaline, and we don't have enough of the parasympathetic nervous system running. So when we learn to shut it down and start activating our parasympathetic nervous system, we start coming into a beautiful dance where, yes, we're going to need that cortisol, we're going to need that adrenaline for certain things, but we're not going to be living off of them 100%. Yeah. Right. So if you get a tone generator, they're free online. Get a tone generator, and you can start just listening to 528. There's a lot of music on YouTube now that's become very popular, where you can
or just sign up for Hannah's meditation.
Oh, that's right. Or you can sign up for my meditation. You can just go to add vocal
going
on YouTube and listen to Sound Bath Sundays. There's plenty of sound healings that I've done. I did 2 years straight.
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday, I did Sound Bath Sundays, and at the end, there was always a sound bath, and you can listen. You can spend 2 years,
yes,
and not run out, and listen to a different one each day. And so that will help you calm your nervous system. It can help you ground, and it will definitely change your life.
Yes. Yeah. That I can attest to that because it definitely did for me. And I think that was one of the things I really liked about your meditations, and that it had that component to it. And it helped me go deeper. And yeah, I am a big advocate for that. And one thing I wanted to mention before, you were saying um, for around a lot of negative, when you were talking about like talking to the rice, I was thinking, yeah, I've noticed that like if there's a lot of negative energy around you feel it in your whole body. Like you just tense up.
Yes.
Everything feels like you're just like restricting. Whereas like if you're in a happy mood and people are happy and like you're in the flow, you're listening to one of Hannah's sound bath healings, like life is good. It's yeah, it's really, really cool. And I remember like they did a study with that too, with the music. Yeah, they put people in different rooms and then they like their moods completely change based on the type of music that they were listening to. So it is a powerful thing for sure. So
yes, you'll notice there's a direct correlation with the music.
Yeah.
Because it goes straight to the subconscious mind and it creates a programming that is not unstoppable. And then people are depressed and they don't know why. Well, you're listening to these horribly sad songs all the time.
Yeah.
If you think that's not going to affect you, it's just impossible for it not to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So beware the things that you watch, beware the things that you listen to, and create this awareness and start making some different choices. And you will see, if you are depressed all the time, just go and listen, pay attention and look at all the things that you've been listening to. Even mainstream media, right? The news. If you're going to sleep with the 11 o'clock news like I used to 30 years ago, until 30 years ago, I realized, I'm like, every time I listen to this, I wake up and I'm like, horrible, because you go to sleep with all this negativity and you're going to wake up with all that negativity. It doesn't go away. And then you carry it throughout your day. And then at 11 o'clock comes, you listen to it again, and it's like a continuous cycle.
Yep. No, it's true.
But you can stop it, and you have the power to do that.
That we're always just so influenced by the things that are going on in the cosmos. And, spoiler alert, it's because we're kind of in tune with these planets as these aspects of us. We just see them on a larger scale and we feel them from a lot of the, people around us. The collective energy starts to feel it. And when this episode is dropping, I believe we're going to be in around the 20th. So there's not a lot happening. We are coming out, we're in that retrograde shade period for Mercury. Leo was Venus was retrograde in Leo. So like relationships are kind of coming back into balance. And then, as far as Mercury is concerned, that planet of communication and ideas, we still might find things being a little bit wonky, but we just have to make sure that we're ready for said wonkiness. I've had so many things going wrong still in school. And it's just, you can either panic and freak out about it, or you can just say, well, isn't that interesting that the system went down again, or the bell isn't working again, and just go with it. Instead of, I think we take everything so personally when we don't understand that, there's an energy, this potential exists for things to go wrong. So don't freak out when it does, just prepare yourself, right? So we will have the sun's going to be moving into Libra when the autumn equinox happens. So that's kind of a big thing. The equinox is really a great time of year where we are really kind of harvesting the things that we have created, that we've set out to do this year. We're kind of gathering those up so that we can really feel proud of ourselves and really celebrate the accomplishments that we've had, and maybe get rid of that idea that you didn't do enough, or you didn't set out and do everything that you wanted to accomplish. Really celebrating what you have accomplished this year, and everything that's good in your life is just going to be a really good energy for you to be in.
So thank you everybody for being here, and we'll see you all on our next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Recoded.